Most doctors are good people who are just trying to help, but they're hamstrung by a broken system which discourages questioning medical dogma and, as we saw earlier, even encourages physicians to coerce patients into accepting medical procedures to which they do not consent.
Science is accessible to anyone who wants to learn it. And that's the beauty of what I do and what we have in this world, which is still relatively free, is that any of us can pursue science and use it to expose the toxins that are in medicines. And that science is irrefutable because it's reproducible in any lab anywhere else in the world.
I mean, we have to start talking to each other. The public health officials have to talk to the parents have to talk to the doctors. We all have to sit down and talk about these issues. This is not religion, this is science. We don't have to agree, but we can look at the evidence and figure it out together. We can't say, when you say it's off limits and you can't talk about it, that's when you should start having as many conversations as possible.
Once I saw this, it was impossible for me to walk away from it. It was like seeing a mugging on the street, or like being, just seeing some horrible atrocity. Like watching having been down at the train station in 1939 in Warsaw or Berlin and seeing, people shipped off to the camps, and then you have to make a decision about whether to put your head down and pretend you didn't see it and protect your career, or whether you're going to speak up about it. And I felt like I didn't have a choice.
You are going to institute a public health measure across the board for all healthy children in the country or in the world, then you've got to make absolutely certain that it is as safe as it possibly can be. And any red flags should be interpreted beyond doubt that there is a problem with that vaccine until proven otherwise.
Any red flag with vaccines should be considered a problem, and we should apply the brakes until it's proven safe, not vice versa. And remember, the entire purpose of this documentary is to facilitate discussion about vaccines and to overcome the idea that we cannot even ask questions about them.
The idea that we can't question vaccines now is derived from the success of what people believed happened with smallpox and polio. So whenever I get involved in a debate about measles vaccine or MMR or thimerosal, people say, yeah, but what about smallpox? What about polio? I said, we're not talking about those. We're talking about something completely different. Can we stay on topic? Can we focus on this and actually deal with the safety issue? We're not talking about either the benefits of vaccination, which are very questionable. There's certainly many, many questions that need to be asked. We're talking about the safety. The two very, very different things. Yes. People talk about the benefits when they really should be focusing upon the safety. Just because something may produce a beneficial effect, that does not make it safe.
The studies in this book, Miller's Review of Critical Vaccine Studies, this book, there's 400 studies in here. And these are studies, most of these studies are recent studies. These are all studies that are showing problems with vaccines, because I got tired of hearing medical doctors saying there are no studies that show that vaccines are a problem, that vaccines are unsafe. What are you talking about? That is an outright lie. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of studies published in peer-reviewed journals documenting safety and efficacy problems associated with vaccines.
I think vaccines have saved millions of lives, and I just accepted the dogma that they were safe and that's what the science said. I started looking at the science, and I started calling people within the agencies. I called Paul Offit, who was a big defender of vaccines, and I called Kathleen Stratton at CDC and other people within the agencies, and I started questioning them. And their answers, they gave me the answers that they gave to the public, but I was informed about the science. And when I started drilling down with them on the science, it was clear that not only that the science they were citing me was bogus, but that they knew that it was weak, and they were unwilling to defend it in front of informed criticism. And that shocked me, because these were not, I was used to environmental agencies becoming captured, but a public health agency that is charged with protecting the health of our children, to lie about science and to manipulate science, which is what they were doing, just seemed criminal.
There was a study published in Pediatrics that showed that parents who decided to delay or forego some vaccines were parents who made over $70,000 a year and had the most education. So why is it that the best educated parents who have the highest socioeconomic income are choosing to delay some vaccines? It's not because something is wrong with those parents, it's because something is wrong with the current CDC vaccine schedule.
It's his first visit in Israel. He is excited as you are. בוא. הוא ניצח בשלושה תיקים שהגיש נגד ה-FDA במטרה לחשוף בפני הציבור מידע חיוני. בעברו מפיק טלוויזיה מצליח ומוערך שזכה בפרס האמי על עריכת התוכנית הרופאים, מפיק הסרט וקסט, מטיוח לקטסטרופה, עומד בראש הארגון ICAN, Informed Consent Action Network. גבירותיי ורבותיי, קהל נכבד, please welcome Mr. Del Bigtree.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Wow, that's an incredible welcome. It's such an honor to be here in Israel. It's such an honor to see so many dynamic and powerful, brave individuals that are getting involved in the most important issue of our lifetime. I have a clock here that says 60 minutes. I'm really bad at landing on time, so why don't we get this all started? You know, it was interesting when I was asked to come out here. I'll be honest, I'm only now just starting to think, do we start going internationally? Those types of things make you nervous. I don't know what your laws are here about free speech. There's a lot that I don't know. I also don't really know how your vaccine program works. So what I'm going to talk about today is our vaccine program in America, because I think that you're pretty much following in line behind us. We're doing the science, and everyone here is believing it. Just like every doctor across the world is believing the science, you've seen some really great presentations by some of the greatest people in this movement. And frankly, I'm only a reporter. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a journalist. I worked on a medical talk show on CBS called The Doctors in America. So I know how to read medical journals. I know how to do investigations. But mostly everyone you've seen today is who I study. They've taught me. And part of my investigation, I've spent 3 years really just looking at one word. I think I'm probably the only journalist that's investigated one word for 3 years of their career, and that word is safety. We hear that vaccines are safe and effective. We, my team, legal team, with scientists and doctors and references from many of the people you've seen, have investigated this one word. Are vaccines safe? And so that's what I'm going to discuss today. And so let's get started. Here's what happens, and here's what's happening in the media all around the world. When I've come here, people say, our media is not telling us the truth, as though that's the first time I've heard that. Our media is not telling the truth either, but let's look at the truth that we've got here happening. Yeshiva World, you probably all saw this. Anti-vaxxers attempt to infiltrate Yerushalayim English-speaking community. I love this. Using various secretive methods, the group has surfaced in Yerushalayim, hiding behind the innocuous-sounding name Ezrat Menachem. Using email and social media, they have publicized an event this week featuring one of the most outrageous anti-vax activists, huckster Del Bigtree. Del Bigtree is a huckster who is famous for promulgating the disproven link between autism and vaccines. It's the first time I've ever been a huckster, or at least called that. I'm honored. I want to thank Yeshiva World. Thank you very much for that honor. Look, when we look at this discussion, Here's the problem. Where's their information coming from? What's the difference between my information and what this paper believes is the truth? When I was interviewed recently by Der Spiegel, there was a journalist sent, and I'll talk to any journalist there is. Most of the time I know that they're going to do some sort of attack piece, but this journalist says to me, you know, I have a science background, I studied science, and I only later in my life decided to be a journalist. I said, okay, great. So at a certain point, he made this exact statement. He said, there are thousands of studies that have disproven this autism vaccine connection. I said, okay, name one. He said, what? I said, well, there's thousands, just name one. What one do you want to talk about? He said, well, I don't know the name. I was like, really? As an investigative journalist that studied science, you just told me there's thousands of studies disproving this connection, and you can't name one of them? I said, do you think there's a problem with that? I mean, my understanding is your card says investigative journalist. What kind of investigation are you doing? Does your investigation mean when a government official tells you something, you just repeat it and you believe them? Or when a scientist or a doctor says we have thousands of studies, you just believe them? Because I'm not wired that way. That's not the journalism I learned. My journalism challenges everybody. I don't trust anybody. It's not my job to trust people. My job is to investigate. In the United States of America, we call our journalists, the media, the fourth estate or the fourth branch of government. It's the branch that always asks the hard questions, the uncomfortable questions. We don't take our government's word for it. We ask our government the hard questions. We don't take industry's word for it. We ask the hard questions. So why is it all of media feels so comfortable saying thousands of doctors are behind us, therefore we don't have to do an investigation? How could 1,000 doctors or millions of doctors be wrong? If all those millions of doctors are really only going to one source for their information, then we have a problem. And that's what I'm going to show you is happening today. I want to be clear. I'm not here to tell you not to vaccinate. That's up to you. Every parent should have a choice. I'm here to celebrate the freedom of that choice. And what I'm going to say is this paper and the people that threatened yesterday to boycott, or people that have said, we're going to speak out against this, we're going to picket outside of this, I have one question. Are we not allowed to question the pharmaceutical industry? Because my father was a minister, so I grew up always talking about God, and as a very young child, my dad would say, challenge your thought, challenge me. Ask hard questions of our God. It will help you gain a deeper faith, and I really have enjoyed speaking to many of the different communities here in Israel and back in New York, and my understanding is many in the Jewish faith are also taught to challenge God, to ask hard questions as a way into learning. So am I to understand we can question God, but we can't question pharma? Something's very confusing there for me. Someone will have to help me understand that. How we think that this is something that is untouchable. It is clearly not untouchable. So let's talk about what we're talking about today. But mostly what I wanted to do today is talk about this last line. The science is settled. The most moronic scientific statement that could ever be made. Okay? When I was in high school, I was taught that if you run into someone in science that makes this statement, you're supposed to just tune them out immediately. They're not a scientist. Because no scientist has ever made this statement. The science is never settled. It's never been settled. And by the way, consensus has nothing to do with science either. Because I will tell you, I challenge you, when in history did the consensus body of science evolve the science? It never does. It's always one scientist or one team that discovers something that the consensus had wrong. And usually they get arrested, and usually they're, you're a hypocrite and you're wrong and you're crazy and they get attacked, and sometimes they get sued, but eventually they end up being right, and all of our science books have to go and make an adjustment. That's how science works. So I don't care about consensus. Galileo didn't care about consensus. Einstein never cared about consensus, because consensus just means what the sheep all think. I'm more interested in someone that is trying to go further and deeper. But this, the science is settled. To me, it's the most arrogant statement ever made in science. It really lowers the bar of what I have to achieve here. All I have to do is poke a few holes, because what you're saying here is your science is immaculate. It's perfect. It's unquestionable. If we're to listen to everybody screaming at us in the papers and everyone in our governments that are saying we're crazy for asking any questions, really? We're really crazy. Then there better be no problem with this product whatsoever, because it's the only product in the world right now you're forcing into my kids without any choice whatsoever. So you're telling me you've looked into it, the science is clear, it's perfect, harms no one.